And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here, Lucas from Mars, and today we are going to just be recapping year 2 here. The regular season is over, and it is only the Show 20 connected franchise, so we're going to recap the American League here in this episode, and then we're going to move on and recap the National League, and then we are going to get into the postseason. So taking a look here at the standings to begin, we have starting with the National League West here. The Sharks did end up winning this division for the second straight year over the Tides. The Tides missed out on the playoffs just barely. I mean, they're only 3 games behind the Sharks in the division race, and then they were only lost out 1 game behind in the wild card race as they lost to Chicago in the last game of the season in the last episode of this series. So really unfortunate for the Tides, not able to make it into the playoffs. The Razorbacks 500 at 81. The Rattlers below expectations, below 500, and then the Gamblers, they're the worst team in the division at 74 and 88. So overall, a very similar division to kind of how it looked last year. And then we're going to move over to the National League Central. Now, that was pretty easily the weakest division. The National League West is pretty easily the weakest division in the league. A very top-heavy league this season, I feel like, as you have a lot of teams. You have teams, I think, the Trojans have over 100 wins, and then you have the Crusaders, and then you have a couple of teams in the American League that are over 100 wins, that have 100 wins at least. So a pretty top-heavy league this season, but the Trojans, I mean, this is kind of what I expected this team could be last year. They played up to expectations this season. They were absolutely incredible. They clinched the top seed in the division in the league here in the National League, as with 104 wins. They were incredible. And then the Cougars and the Blue Sox there. So 3 teams from the NL Central make it into the postseason, and the Cougars and the Blue Sox do match up for that wild card spot. They're 87 wins for the Cougars, 85 for the Blue Sox, and then those last 2 teams rounding out that division. You have the Crusaders here in the National League East. They also had 100 wins this year, as they clinched that division, 162, and they will get to go into the playoffs here. They haven't really been in the playoffs very much in their history, so it'll be interesting. They will match up against the Sharks in the first round. But Crusaders there, the Phantoms were also super close. They had the same record as the Tides did. They were a game away from making it to another postseason berth. That team has been in the playoffs basically every year of the franchise, and they unfortunately just missed out this year. And they have the Hawks, pretty much what they do every year, a little bit below 500, not terrible, but not a great team. But then Huskies and the Rebels, both with over 90 losses on the season there. And that is a snapshot of that National League. And look at this wild card. You got, a couple of teams there. You got the Phantoms and the Tides, of course. As I mentioned, both missed the postseason by a singular game. And then the Razorbacks are actually right there at 500 at 4 games back. And the Rattlers, they're at 6 games back. So that's a look at that National League wild card. They're 87 and 85 wins for those two for the 2 wild card teams, and the Cougars and the Blue Sox. And then we go over to the American League, and this was the team that clinched the best record here in this division. They clinched the best record in the league also with 106 wins. I mean, this team, the New York Honey Badgers, were the best team in baseball the entire season. They were just incredible. Their pitching was amazing all year. Their offense was, the best offense in the entire league the entire season. They had an incredible year, so they are going to have a chance to, they're going to have the first slot. They're going to be the favorites going in for the American League. And then you got the Expos here. They make it to another playoff berth. They never won the division, but they have made it. I think it's their 3rd or their 4th wild card berth that they've had in their team's history with 88 and 78. They, played above expectations, I think, this season. And then you got the Aces here, who were just below 500 at 79 and 83. Mustangs had a pretty bad year. They're at 70 and 92. And then the Barons were one of the worst teams in the league with 103 losses there at the bottom. 47 games behind the Honey Badgers for first place this year. That's pretty. That's a pretty crazy distance there. And then you move over to the American League Central. So we got another team with over 100 wins. I think the Sharks were the only team that won the division that didn't have at least 100 wins this season, which is really crazy to think about. But the Red Wings, another 100-win season. They were 101 and 61. They did make it to the World Series last year, where they lost to the Blue Sox, so they got a good shot at getting back there again. The Bees were very, very close to a playoff spot. They had 87 wins. They were, I think, a game behind. And unfortunately, the Bees, they have won a World Series in the past, and they were so close to getting to a playoff spot there. And then you go over to the American League West, and we talked about the Diablos a little bit this season. They were one of the better teams in the entire league. I mean, the second best record in baseball. They were absolutely incredible this season with 105 wins, 105 and 57 this year. Very, very, very good team there in the Diablos. And then the Reapers there, also with 88 wins. They clinched that second wild card spot there in the division there in the American League West with their 88 wins. Dragons just finishing above 500. The Crazy Jacks, 77-85, a very, very good season for them. The past 4 years they had over 100 losses, so a very, very good step in the right direction for the Crazy Jacks this season. They had a very, very good year, all things considered. And then the Vipers, 74-88, the last team in the American League West. So that's a look at the standings. And again, I really, looking at this wild card race also here, the Bees, again, as I mentioned, the Bees are really the only American League team that was, right there to getting a playoff spot. They were only a game behind the Expos and the Reapers. So, unfortunately for them, they could not make it in. But I think you look at these races here, and it seems to me, a very top-heavy kind of playoff hunt here. You have 6 divisions, and you have 5 teams with at least 100 wins this year. That is, that just doesn't happen very often. So, a very, very, very top-heavy divisions here, and that's a snapshot of the record. So, let's move on to stats now. So, looking at the calendar here before we get into these stats, as you can see, Salt Lake City and Montreal, I think they might have played a game 163 here, actually, that we did not record. But, yeah, the Bees and the Expos had to play on the last day of the year to actually get to that, to decide that playoff spot. So, that's something very interesting there to point out. But we're going to start here going over the American League, and we're going to start at the very top here with the Michigan Mustangs. This season, not a very good team this year. They, lost on 92 games. So, taking a look at this pitching staff here, it was pretty just decent. Jesus Luzardo was not good. 2 more years with his contract, unfortunately. Jameson Taillon was all right with a 3.56 ERA. Nothing too special there. He did decline a little bit also. And he's still got 2 more years on his contract. Carlos Vasquez, a halfway decent season, I guess, worse than last year for him, and he's a guy that's continuing to increase. He's only 27. He's going to be, I think he's going to turn into, he should become a pretty solid pitcher in this league, but yeah, this season, not amazing. Then you have Stephen Bell and Donovan Joyce, the two, very, really young pitchers on this staff, and Stephen Bell pitched, 58 innings last year. Wasn't great. And it wasn't that great in 190 innings this season either. Donovan Joyce also struggled. So overall, the pitching staff this year was not very good. But, Donovan Joyce and Stephen Bell, they're the same age. They're very, very, those are 2 guys that are both 24. Those guys are both super, super young. And those 2 guys should be, with all hope, those are 2 guys that are going to be, the 2 top pitchers in this pitching staff for years to come if they can develop properly. So, not a very good starting pitching staff here. The bullpen, not a great start to the bullpen here. Caleb Smith pitched a ton this year, but really did not pitch very well at all with a 4.80. ERA. Ryan Hazley was okay. The whip is not in a very good spot at 1.42. That's way too high. Luis Perdomo was not good either. Eric Swanson pitched 52 innings and was okay. One of the better bullpen arms that we've seen from this team so far. But yeah, not amazing. And then Billy Milano didn't get very many innings at all, so, I mean, only 15 innings. Nothing much to say here. He did grow by +3 pretty much everywhere, but, yeah, then we go down. Steve Hernandez, also a guy that didn't really pitch very much either. I mean, a 5.47 ERA. He was very bad in 26.1 innings, which is interesting because, I mean, look at, 2025 was just incredible for him, but yeah, not a great year for him. Robert Stevenson won reliever of the year last year, had 58 saves, and had an under 1 whip, and was the best closer in the AL. And this year, yeah, disappointing season for him. Declined quite a bit, had an over 4 ERA. Yeah, and I mean, you can tell why this team had a pretty bad losing record. Their pitching was really bad this year. The starting pitching wasn't great. The bullpen was really, really bad. So, yeah, not great for the pitching there. And so we get to this lineup, and I think this lineup was just okay. It wasn't anything super crazy. Dan Kruger, he was all right. 288 average and a 347 on base. He was better than he was last year. I think, overall, Dan Kruger was a lot better this season. And, I mean, really, really decent leadoff hitter here. 25 home runs for a leadoff hitter. You're not going to complain about that. And this guy is, only 25 years old. So, Dan Kruger definitely had a good year. Robert Puason, I mean, this is kind of just what he's done every single year, where it's like, you just expect more. The defense is, obviously the defense is amazing. He's one of the best, if not the best defensive shortstop in the league. But that offense still really has not developed like you would hope it would. Very average hitter. Alex Kirilloff was not great offensively, only batting .243. Teoscar Hernandez was pretty good, probably their best hitter overall, I'd say. I mean, .277 on that average there. He had over 30 home runs, 34 homers, and 89 RBIs. So that was a good season from Teoscar Hernandez there at left. And then you get Brandon Rogers, who not very good. I mean, he had 30 home runs, sure, but yeah, the average really low at, only .239, and the on-base super low also. Michael Toglia, almost had a career high in home runs, but again, very average offensive numbers. Sheldon Noisy wasn't very good either, and Jeremy Pena was okay. He was decent. But nothing super special. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a great offense. It's not a horrible offense, but it's not really that great either. And the pitching is not good. So, you can tell why this team was not very good this season. All right, now we're going to get to the Boston Barons here, and we'll go through this team pretty quick because this team was very bad this year. One of the worst teams in the league. And, yeah, Reynaldo Lopez was, their top pitcher, not very good. Frank Dugan, in his rookie year, he struggled. I mean, a 1.77 whip is really, really, really bad. So, not a good year for him. Shane Baz was not very good. William Meade, it was okay, and only 74 innings. I mean, he's still a young pitcher, only 24, but he was all right. Josiah Gray wasn't very good either. Just a really bad starting pitching staff for sure. And then the bullpen's not going to be much better here. Rich Ullman pitched a crap ton this year, and it was terrible. Zach Gallen had a near 2 whip this season in 128 innings. I mean, he is absolutely terrible. Get rid of that $17 million contract. I mean, that is one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in this game. I'm not even joking. That is just really, really ridiculously bad. Andres Sotol, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. He wasn't very good. Tyler Mahle wasn't very good. Ponce de Leon didn't pitch very much, but really struggled as well. C.J. Carter wasn't very good. David Murillo was bad. Tim Meza was probably their best. Like Tim Meza was their best relief pitcher this year. He had 32 saves, and he only pitched 31 innings. So yeah, I mean Tim Meza was all right this year, but I mean that's your best bullpen guy. Yeah, you need help on that bullpen, that pitching staff. It's not going to win you very many games there. And then the lineup, it's a young kind of team that's a little bit in shambles right now because they traded a lot of their players last year. But Thomas Rowan, rookie year for him, and it wasn't too bad. It was not. He didn't really grow like I would hope that he would, But I mean, honestly, not a bad season. 350 on base and 823 OPS. That is, I'll take that for your rookie year. That's pretty good. Sherwood Curtis was all right. I mean, 377 on base and 284 average. Nobody on this team is going to have a high RBI count, but he was decent. Dale Lincoln really low on the average. I think he led the team in RBIs with 78, but not an amazing season there. Jared Kelenic cannot get on base. I mean, he's got a 302 career on base percentage. He is not. I mean, he's not even. He would not be a starter on really any other roster. He's not good. This year, Donovan Casey was all right, not great. Trey Cabbage was same thing, not very good. I mean, he didn't grow at all. I mean, just not a good team. Just not a good team here, not a good lineup. So, no real surprises here. Then Sean Murphy was, he actually grew in potential, but I mean, 286 on base. Like, he doesn't get on base ever. So. Yeah, Sean Murphy, overall, I get it's the catcher position, but, man, that OPS is really bad. So, not a good season. Victor Montoya, one of those young guys in 23. They also got Sean Witt from the Diablos and in the Trey Turner trade earlier this season. And, he didn't play a whole lot this year, but... that's a guy that he's got good speed and decent and really good power. So, hopefully he can turn into something. But now we get to take a look at the best team in the entire league here in the Honey Badgers. And I think you're going to tell pretty clearly and easily why this was the best team in baseball. Here, John White, I mean, this guy gets on base like absolutely nobody's business. One of the best, if not, maybe the best leadoff hitter in the entire game. He had 51 doubles last year, which is ridiculous. But he had 30 this year and 32 homers, 377 on base. I mean, just crazy good. 185 hits. Really, really good season from him. Curtis Lefebvre, got the number of at-bats I was looking for. Last year didn't play as much as I wanted him to, but this year he played a lot, and he had 26 homers. I mean, he's only 23 years old. He is so young, and he is already so good. I love Curtis Lefebvre. That's a guy that has a Hall of Fame trajectory right now in the league. He is really good and really young already. So you get Tim Anderson, who, one of his worst years offensively in a while for him, especially in terms of average and on base. So, he did decline a little bit also. Not a very good year from Tim Anderson. It wasn't horrible, but then you have Jesus Sanchez, who was among the top hitters in baseball on 901 OPS, 900 OPS for the second straight year. I mean, this team is getting like they're stealing with him right now because look at his stats. He's just insane, one of the best hitters in baseball, and he had 40 home runs again for the second straight season, 113 ribbies. Yeah, not much more to say. He is incredible. Jose Gonzalez was unbelievable. This is a guy, last year had a very good rookie season, won Rookie of the Year, and then he just comes back and he has an even better season the year after that. He's only 24. He's got some insane inning stats already, 98 contact versus lefties. This guy has got a really bright future in this league as well. He's crazy good. Alec Bohm, I mean, this guy has been one of the top hitters in the league for a few years in a row now, and he had an unbelievable season again. This team has him locked up for a while. 43 homers, 113 ribbies, and a 937 OPS. Alec Bohm was one of the best third basemen offensively in the league. And then, it doesn't get any easier. There's no holes in this lineup because Josh Naylor was incredible also. With 31 home runs and over 100 ribbies. I mean, almost basically a career year for Josh Naylor this season. He was ridiculously good. +8s there, +4, and that power versus lefties reaching 99. Josh Naylor is cracked. Henry Tadano was the worst hitter on the team, and pretty easily the worst hitter on the team. Potential increase. I mean, 33 home runs is really good for your catcher, but definitely would like to see that on base and that average go higher. But he's improving in his stats. He's only 25. He's fine. Actually, no, I take that back. Willie Calhoun was probably the worst hitter on the team. He only had 18 home runs, and only had that 261 average. So, yeah, I mean the bottom two not great, but I mean overall as a whole, man, is that the best lineup in the entire game. That is just incredible. You'll definitely take the production there. So we go from the best hitting lineup in baseball to one of the best pitching lineups in the league also. I mean, this pitching staff, you thought the offense was good. This pitching staff carried its weight also. It didn't leave the offense to do everything. Shane Bieber, gonna win Cy Young, I think, with those numbers. 2.77 ERA, 1.22 whip, 20 wins on the season, 229 strikeouts. He's won the Cy Young before, I believe. I'm not sure which year he won it in, but probably the year he had 2.61 ERA, or maybe, I don't know where he did. He might have the 3.02 ERA season with Boston or with New York in 2025. I think he might have won the Cy Young then, but he's probably going to win the Cy Young award this year because that season was legit incredible. One of the best pitchers in the entire American League. So definitely a big season for him. Stephen Quinlan, he had a couple of years in a row really early in his career where he was just crazy good. And he bounced back from a pretty rough year last year to have a pretty decent season this year. And then you have George Kirby, who, remember, New York got in a trade from the Razorbacks last year. And his first full season in New York, I mean, I'd say it went pretty well. 3.05 ERA and 1.15 whip. Definitely went very good for George Kirby, a guy, doesn't do, does everything really well, doesn't excel in one category. Only had 159 strikeouts, but he just is very good at everything. So, really like George Kirby there. But interesting to see what his contract situation will be there, as I believe it looked like he might have been a free agent there after the season. But then Michael Fulmer, he's their number 5 pitcher in this pitching staff, and he might be, he actually had a year on par with Shane Bieber this year, a 2.70 ERA and a 1.13 whip. Bieber did pitch more innings, but man, Michael Fulmer, this guy has been, so reliable for New York. His entire time that he's been with them, he's been one of the most reliable and consistent pitchers on the staff every year. He had an incredible career season for him this year. And then Garrett Cole, getting way up there in age. He's 36 years old at this point. I don't really expect Garrett Cole to put up crazy good numbers anymore. But this was one of his better seasons in a little bit. He's getting paid like crazy. He does have one more year on his contract. But, this season was decent. The whip is a little bit too high for me. But, again, look at the pitching staff, though. You say Garrett Cole is the worst pitcher in this pitching staff. That's pretty darn impressive. And then the bullpen here. The bullpen was a little bit shaky at points. Fulton Everett was not very good. But Eddie Rodriguez was really good. +7 to one of those per nines there. I believe that's home run per nine. Eddie Rodriguez was lights out this season in that long relief role. 67.1 innings pitched and was incredible. Only 18 runs allowed. This is one of those young relief pitchers that, really hoping does well, and he proved himself this year for sure. Cody Stashak, pretty decent year, not as good as last year, but still definitely take those numbers. Archie Bradley didn't really pitch a whole lot, but was not very good in the innings he did get. Estevan Perez was called up and, later in the season, wasn't great in 20 innings pitched. Didn't really do a whole lot there. 6.30 ERA, give up 14 runs, so not great there. He is only 27. He's 89 overall. That's a guy you can maybe use next year in your bullpen somewhere. But Nick Pivetta, the ERA is at 3.55, but his whip was like 1.7, which is a little bit concerning. But then you have Diego Castillo, who they got in free agency a couple years ago. This guy's crazy. This guy's crazy good. This guy's incredible. 43 saves this year. Was one of the better closers in the league. So definitely take Diego Castillo. He is really, really impressive, and he had a great year this year. So, yeah, an unbelievable lineup. Best lineup in baseball. Really good pitching staff here. Starting pitching at least. And, the bullpen was pretty darn good also. Moving Cody Stockstick here into the setup role for the postseason just to get the best pitcher in there available as we can. But, yeah, this is my favorite to win the World Series this season. So they are exceptional. They're a very, very good team. But we move on to the Montreal Expos, who is going to be a wildcard team this season. And, this is a team that I didn't really think was going to make the postseason when the year started, but they had a pretty good year. And I think their offense was definitely a big part of their success because this bullpen was not very good this year. We're scrolling through these ERAs, and every single one of them is way, way high. Hunter Harvey, though, +9, +4 in some of his stats. But, yeah, Heldenberger so far is the best ERA. Jay Groom didn't pitch well. Jamie Schultz didn't pitch well. Even Sam Williams, 40 saves, but kind of struggled this year with a 4.9 ERA. That's a very bad bullpen, and that is one of the reasons that I am kind of worried about this team, going into the postseason. And Sam Williams last year was unbelievable. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of worried about this team, especially in a divisional series against somebody. That bullpen just might not be able to hold up. But look at Alek Manoah's growth this year, +7s, +10. He had a career season and finally produced like the ace that, he should have been producing as long before. Alek Manoah was just crazy, crazy good this season with a 3.9 ERA and a 1.08 whip. He was great. So very, very good season for Alek Manoah this year. And then Devin Smeltzer was all right, below a 4 ERA. They got Devin Smeltzer in a trade from the New Orleans Kings at the trade deadline, and, not necessarily what they were looking for. I think they wanted him to pitch a bit better when they got him, but he was all right. Jose Urquidy was all right, just a very average pitcher in Urquidy, honestly. And he had an average season this year. Daniel Lynch, not very good. Did grow a lot, did increase, but not a very good season for him. And then Lonnie Winters, he had a better season than last year, I'll say that. And, he's still very young, still at 89 overall. So, yeah. Overall, all right pitching staff. The bullpen, the starting pitching was okay, but now we get to the offense, and this is definitely where this team's strong suit shows up because Brad Pence as a leadoff hitter, last year he was great, Rookie of the Year eligible last season, but this year was more of the same from him. Pretty identical year for him. Slightly worse, actually, but yeah, he was good. Jeremy DeLarosa, +15 in one of those stats there. He had a down year, though, compared to last year. He had almost a 400 on base percentage last season. But one guy that did not have a down year was Keston Hiura, one of the most consistent and best hitters in this league. My goodness, this guy is unbelievable. 36 home runs, 99 ribbies, an 869 OPS. Actually, got an under 800 OPS for, the first time since last year. He got an over 900 OPS last year. He was incredible this year. Alex Bergman, this is one of those guys that, getting kind of up there in age a little bit, 33, but he's still producing really, really well in this, in this age. And that's his home run number is definitely down, but he did get more doubles, though. So, yeah, he was still very good offensively, though. Marcus Brito is very average offensively. The defense is there, but the offense really isn't. And then Nolan Gorman had a career year this season. This is one of those guys that, is a top prospect in real life and a guy that, going into this had so much promise and potential, never really showed it. Finally this year he does. +9, +5, +6 in those contact stats and that power versus lefties stat. He was really good this year, so good job for Nolan Gorman. Miles Straw, yeah, he's just like a bench kind of guy. And then you got Kyle Lewis, who, look at Kyle Lewis here. He had only 336 at-bats, and he was crazy good. He had 29 home runs and 336 at-bats this season. I think that center field, one of those outfield positions, it was like nobody was wanting to fill that outfield position for this team. They're all pretty bad. And then they turned to Kyle Lewis, and he went ballistic. An upgrade, tick in potential. And wow, he was one of the best hitters in the league. I mean, you consider that stretch that he had this year was ridiculous. And then Emilio Cabral, average offensively. That's not his strong suit. That's not where his game lies. His game lies in his defense, and his offense was okay. Now we go to the Montreal to the Aces here, and Yari Munoz is this team's leadoff hitter. Ontario, that's the word that I was blanking on there. Yari Munoz leading off was very, very good. He has always been very good. Mookie Betts kind of had a down year. Declined a lot. And, I mean, it wasn't a terrible year for Mookie, but, definitely a little bit of a downgrade in his production. Andrew Benintendi was okay. Miguel Sano had, 33 home runs, +5 and +4 in those contact stats, which is nice. Miguel Sano is a great hitter. A great power bat, one of the better power bats in the league. And he was very, very good this season. And then Nomar Mazara was excellent. 39 homers, a career high for him, and career high in RBIs as well. I mean, he was really, really good. A lot of good increases there. Over 100 ribbies again. And, man, almost a 900 OPS. Very, very good season. He's had a couple of years now, or back-to-back years, where he was just crazy good. And then Gary Sanchez, this team got him in the offseason. And, he just did more Gary Sanchez-like things. Hit over 30 home runs. Had basically, 90 RBIs. Had a almost 900 OPS. I mean, that's just what Gary Sanchez does. And then Eddie Burke didn't really get much playing time and wasn't very good. So, yeah, and overall, a decent team here. Danny Hollins was pretty bad this year. Not a very good player at all. And Joe Rizzo really struggled offensively in his, limited action. But, overall, a very, very good lineup. A pretty good lineup there. But I think this team's pitching staff is not there. It's not up to par, and that's the reason they weren't able to really do much this year, because their pitching was just not very good. Mike Soroka was their ace, and, it's so disappointing because he was really good in 2023, and since then he has just been terrible. He just cannot figure it out. So, really unfortunate there for him. And then Noah Syndergaard, same thing, not really that great. Daniel Espino was pretty bad, and declining potential, which is not good, of course. And Julio Armenteros was probably this team's best starting pitcher here, and he was okay, but, nothing amazing. And then DL Hall was also bad. So, yeah, not a good starting pitching staff there for sure. And then you get to Justice Sheffield, and he was all right in 150-so innings. He was pretty decent. Joe Plumbo was not good. Michael Hernandez was also not good. And Alberto Mejia was really bad. Bill Jarrett was pretty bad also. He increased a little bit, but not good numbers. And Amir Garrett was really bad. 8 blown saves, and he doesn't even pitch. He wasn't even closer the whole year. And then Jesse Biddle was, their best relief pitcher here in 44 innings with a 3.07 ERA. But, yeah, I mean, starting pitching, not good. Bullpen, also not very good. So, that's the reason that this team really did not do well this year. And, yeah, Emil Garrett pitching that badly really sucked for them. So now we get to move on to the Vancouver Eruptors here. And Chris Paddock is this team's ace, and he's a really good pitcher. And he had another really good year. And I think for Vancouver, obviously we're not doing another year of this sim, but I think you have to consider, when do you need to trade Chris Paddock? Do you need to trade Chris Paddock here coming up? Because this team is not good. This team is rebuilding, and he is a really good pitcher with a lot of value. And he had a really good season again this year. He's been one of the most consistent guys around. Julio Urias really struggled. He's pretty much sucked in this franchise. Don't really understand why, but he just has not pitched ever very good. Jaime Barria, okay. Actually, not okay. Pretty bad. Peter Valencia, rookie year, really struggled. And did unfortunately have a potential downgrade there and did not really increase that much. So, yeah, I mean, besides Chris Paddock, this pitching staff is really bad. I mean, Chris Paddock is trying to carry everything by himself, basically. And they got the bullpen, which is not much better. Taijuan Walker, not good. He's at nearly the end of his career, it looks like. Willie Cabrera is also not very good. Eliezer Hernandez wasn't great. William Javari wasn't great. Jojo Romero was okay. The whip is at 1.6, though. That's way too high. Kerry Chavez was okay. Probably one of the better relief pitchers that this team had, actually. And then Josh Hader, who should be really good, was not good this year. Declined a little bit. But yeah, 7 blown saves. I mean, he has had 17 blown saves the last 2 years. I don't know what the deal is with Josh Hader. All of a sudden, he's just kind of blowing saves. And I don't know what the deal is with him because he's only 32, so he's still 91 overall. But yeah, this year was easily his worst year of his career by far, and a not very good season from Josh Hader at all. And then you get to the lineup here, and you have Jose Ramirez, who was pretty good, 860 OPS, 32 homers, decent season for Jose Ramirez. Not anything really incredible for him. And Matt Chapman was okay, actually pretty good, one of his better offensive years, but he did decline a lot, -7, excuse me. So that decline does scare me a little bit. And then Nicholas Castellanos really struggled, really had a down year, broke his streak of at least 100 RBIs, and was just not very good. A 309 on base. He got tanked in overall this season really badly. And unfortunately, he's 35, but it just seems he might have his age might have just really caught up with him. He just hit a brick wall. So, hopefully Nicholas Castellanos won't just fade into obscurity after, but who knows? That was a really not good numbers. And then Justin Upton, dude, this is a guy that's going to reach 600 home runs, 3,000 hits. Wow. 39 years old, and he's putting up those type of numbers. Still hitting 38 home runs. Still getting over 100 RBIs. One of the best 39-year-old seasons we've ever seen. Unbelievable. This guy is one of the best hitters of all time in this league. I mean, he's going to do some special things next year. And my goodness, was this a crazy, crazy good season for Justin Upton. Despite his age. Super, super cool to see him do that. And to just, because we've kind of kept his stats the same because look at how good he's been over the course of this franchise. And, yeah, he's only got, a few more years in the league at most. But that's a Hall of Fame player right there. And then Kyle Schwarber, a guy also at the end of his career, kind of at 34 years old. But he had a pretty good year as well. Decent season for him. Bobby Bradley was okay. Not amazing. Just pretty much okay. 27 home runs for him. George Springer, another very old guy, old player here. And he was okay. Didn't do anything super special this year. And then Marcus Semien, a guy definitely at the end of his career. He's done. I don't see him coming back to this team. I don't really see anybody signing Marcus Semien in the offseason, honestly. he's probably at the end of his career, and he had a pretty bad season this year. Carson Kelly as their catcher was not bad. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of understand why this team wasn't very good this year. And then we move on here. The Miami Ballers. Very good. Not very good. Very bad team here, in fact. And their lineup was not good. We're going to quickly move through it there. You already saw the first two guys. Encarnacion wasn't great. Logan Davidson, who was certainly a trade candidate at the deadline, didn't play well enough for me to want to trade him. He didn't have a great season. Clinton Frazier got a lot more time than he probably should have, and he was all right. Bradley Green was pretty bad, and Victor Charles Robles was also pretty bad. I mean, +8 and +11. So, no, really good increases, but not much in the way of production. And then Rod Terry wasn't good. And Alex Blandino was also really bad. So, yeah, I mean, not a good team here. Not a good team in the Ballers at all, for sure. And in the pitching, it doesn't get much better here, really, either. Max Fried is this team's ace, and he's bad. Jackson Rutledge is also bad. No other way to skirt around it here. Samuel Bautista, he's still a young pitcher, but at the really bad season, you want to see him do something for you. Andre Mays was also kind of not very good. Basically his rookie year, and he wasn't great. Joe Scruggs also basically his rookie year. He wasn't great either. So, a lot of these young relief pitchers and pitchers that this team has, they've been in the league now for a year or so, and they really just haven't improved and are really, really struggling to adapt to the major league level right now. And that's pretty hard to see because they do have talent there in the farm system and the pitching staff, but they got to show it. Cody Whitley, the only guy that really worth talking about in that bullpen, because he was really the only guy that was actually good in that bullpen, because Henry Alvarez wasn't very good, and yeah, Cody Whitley, man, he really tried to carry the bullpen by himself there. Now we go to the Alaska Red Wings. This is a team that won 101 games, so this is a good team here for sure, and the bullpen is pretty decent here. Those first two guys were all right, but Ramirez was really good. 3.15 ERA for him. He was great. Lucas Sims had a 1.12 whip. He had a +9 in walk per 9. A good season for Lucas Sims. A little bit lighter workload for him than he's used to, but yeah, that's a good season for him. Dan Winkler didn't pitch really at all, but was okay in the innings that he did get. But AJ Minter was really bad. Yikes. Probably won't give him any playoff innings, I wouldn't expect. And then Alex Reyes was super good. +9 to walk per 9. He is a free agent. So, you're thinking the Red Wings hopefully should be able to return to him. But, yeah, he was good. But, I mean, it doesn't match the best closer in the entire league. I mean, Roberto Osuna still has that title right now. He was incredible again this year. 48 saves, a 102 whip, and a 1.71 ERA. 12 runs in 63 innings. Roberto Osuna is really, really incredible, and just simply, the best closer around, and 505 career saves in his career. This is a guy that will threaten to break Mariano Rivera's save record in his career if he doesn't, and if nothing crazy happens, he should be able to get there pretty darn easily. And then we move over to the starting pitchers here. After looking at probably the best closer ever, maybe. We move over to the starting pitchers here, and we have Luis Castillo, who was all right. 4.1 ERA, kind of a high ERA for him, especially, but he was decent. Sixto was actually one of the better years of his career, pretty good. Forrest Whitley was okay, not amazing. Johnny Diaz was okay. I think that this is a pretty dangerous pitching staff in the playoffs, especially. I mean, Jacob deGrom, he's 38 years old. What do you really expect? He didn't pitch well, but he's also 38. So, I mean, you don't look at that pitching staff and say, oh, wow, that's an amazing pitching staff based on the statistical numbers. But honestly, I feel like this is a pitching staff that could be very, sneaky good for the postseason. Guys with a lot of high ratings, guys with a lot of high overalls, and guys with a lot of experience also. I mean, 98, 99, 93, 89, that's a good pitching staff ratings-wise. So definitely don't sleep on this team's pitching staff going into the postseason. But I move on to the lineup, and this is where this team really made their money. I think they're the second best offense in the AL and among the top offenses in baseball. And then Rosario was a crazy good leadoff hitter here, batting .283 with 32 home runs and 42 doubles, a career high, looked like. He was crazy good. Michael Ciani was alright, had a down year, potential decreased for him. Definitely a down year compared to last year for him. And then, look at this, Dino Navarro was ridiculous. He is one of the front runners, probably the front runner maybe to win the MVP trophy this year in the AL. I mean, ridiculous season. Look at this year, 203 hits for him, 53 home runs, 127 RBIs, a 1.018 OPS. Great increases. Dino Navarro is just simply one of the best hitters in all of baseball, and he was unbelievable this season. Yeah, I mean, crazy good. 641 slugging percentage. I mean, he had 43 doubles and 53 home runs with 4 triples. Dino Navarro up there for MVP voting, I would say. Another guy that's going to be up there for MVP voting is going to be Trey Mancini. I mean, this guy, in real life, an incredible story. And in this game, I mean, imagine if he was able to do this stuff in real life. But goodness gracious, Trey Mancini is just the best DH in the entire league, honestly. 197 hits, which is actually career high. 48 home runs, and over 300 average. This is maybe his best season of his entire career. And that includes the season he won MVP in. And I believe he won that MVP award in 2023. This season is even better than that. This is a career year in terms of, all those other statistics. I mean, there's not much else to say. He's just ridiculously good. Unbelievable. Miguel Andujar doesn't get any easier. We're going to keep going down. And Miguel Andujar had 40 home runs, almost 38 total, 40 doubles, and a 291 average. I mean, he was ridiculously good. Seth Beer has been good for the last few years now, and he had another great season, batting .296, plus 7 to contact versus lefties. He's turning into a complete hitter right now, 34 home runs, which is a career high. Just another great season for him. And then Willie Gonzalez, a young player, basically his rookie year, and plus 9, plus 6, plus 7, plus 6 to the power and contact stats. Very good year for Willie Gonzalez in terms of development, and pretty decent stat line, too, for him. Now, Riley Bell here, he was my pick to win Rookie of the Year this year, and he didn't have an amazing season. He had, plus 7 in power versus righties or lefties, one of the two there. So, he had a good season, but he might, it depends on just who else is a rookie right now that could beat him out for that award. And then Anderson Tejada has turned into one of the best contact hitters in the entire league right now. I mean, plus 9, plus 6. Yeah, he's kind of crazy good. 305 average, 878 OPS, almost a career high in home runs, but a career high in RBIs, and a career high in hits, and on base percentage and slugging. Anderson Tejada had a career year this year. He was incredible. And, yeah, I mean, we're going to move him up in the lineup here, it looks like, in a couple of these lineups. But, yeah, I'd say that's a pretty darn good lineup there. I think that's the second best lineup in the American League, at least, and among the top 3 or 4 in all of baseball. This is a very scary and dangerous team to go up against in the postseason. I would not want to face this team in the playoffs, despite, the pitching staff numbers being a little bit down. This team is still incredible. So, and then we move over to the Salt Lake City Bees, team that just missed out on the playoffs. And they had a pretty decent lineup. Their pitching staff, I think, held them back a bit, though. But Raimel Tapia certainly didn't. Raimel Tapia is a very, very great leadoff hitter. One of the best leadoff hitters in the league. And he was really good. 32 home runs for him. This is great for a leadoff man. Very good there. Then Novan Marte, had a career year last year with 32 home runs. And then he actually improved on it this season. +6, +8 to his lefties stats. He hit very well against lefties this season. And, he's 25 years old. This is the Novan Marte here is starting to develop into the Novan Marte that, we all thought he could turn in and develop into. He has started to turn it up here the last few years, the last couple of years especially. He's going to be a stud for the future for sure. And then Corey Seager was really good. A career high in home runs, actually, for him in this franchise with 34, 97 ribbies, and 865 OPS. Yeah, Corey Seager, very steady and reliable bat, and he had another really, really good year. And then Manny Machado, 34 years old, and he had another great season. 28 home runs and almost 100 ribbies there. He was incredible. Aaron Hicks at 36 years old, declining quite a bit, but actually wasn't too bad. That's a good season for Aaron Hicks, certainly. A good year for him, despite the really, really big decline in his stats and his attributes. And then you get Monte Harrison, who, stepped into a starting role this year, and he was really good. He took it up, and he was pretty decent. +11 and +8 to his contact numbers. That's got to be really promising for you. If you're the Bees, he was excellent. 23 home runs and a very, very good season for a guy that didn't really have any expectations going into the year. KJ Harrison was pretty bad. Austin Allen, after having a pretty decent season at catcher last year, wasn't that great this season at all. Yandy Diaz really struggled. Bottom of the lineup, it's okay. Top of the lineup, though, is where it's at. The top 4 hitters in that lineup all are super good. So now I move on to the pitching, which I think is the biggest reason that held this team back from making a playoff berth. Not very good there. Tim Cade at the bottom, the top of the order. Marcus Stroman here was probably their best starting pitcher that they had this year, although Sean Manaea was also pretty good. He did have a 1.41 whip, though, which is too high for him, but the game is kind of taking him right now. He is only a 78 overall at 35 years old. And, he's a pitcher that's been pretty good throughout his career, but I think the game just really has been taking his stats for a while. And we just can't really catch up, so he's unfortunately a little bit lower rated. But, yeah, that starting pitching staff is just alright. It's not really very good. And I think that is certainly one of the biggest reasons that they were held back this year. For sure. And then we get to this bullpen, which was very bad. Especially Jonathan Hernandez was, yikes. Bad, really bad. Evan Miller was not great. And Seth Lugo was pretty bad. He's only a 68 overall. His career is pretty much over at this point. He's 37 years old, so I do not see him being signed by anybody at this point in his career. Jacob Lamoni was not good. Just a terrible bullpen here. You have Justin Anderson, who, had 49 saves. He was by far their best relief pitcher, but, even he had a 1.67 whip. So, just not a good pitching staff, not a great pitching staff, and not a good bullpen at all. And those are certainly two things that really held this team back from being a playoff team this year. Let me go into the Minnesota Bomba squad here. And, this team's pitching staff is alright. This team's bullpen is alright. Tessel Drennan, he's one of those young relief pitchers that has already been proving himself to be very, very good in this league. And he had a very, very good year. 3.13 ERA, 1.24 whip. A very, very good season for him. Miguel Castro kind of increased a good amount. Wasn't very amazing pitching-wise, but that guy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. He was alright. Pedro Baez pitched 23 innings, very small sample, and he wasn't amazing in that small sample. He's 39 years old. He'll retire here in a couple of years. But then Aaron Bummer was okay. Not really what you want to see there. I mean, a 1.52 whip is pretty high. Giovanni Gallegos also not very great either. Yeah, I mean, 4.24 ERA. Yeah, not really where you want to see it. German Marquez here going on to the starting pitching. German Marquez was alright. I think you would want to see German do better than that, but, it isn't terrible at a 4.05. Casey Mize, 3.03 ERA. He was very, very good. He's been improving every season, it seems like, and, he's a free agent, so the Bomba squad are gotta have a duty to try and sign him and lock him up to a pretty long-term contract, but he had a pretty good year, but then none of the other guys did in his pitching staff. Everybody else in his pitching staff was really bad. So, I mean, Marquez and Mize have long been like the two best pitchers on this staff, and they really have never had anyone behind those two guys. But really, Casey Mize carried the pitching staff this year for him. And then he gets to the lineups here, and Jorge Polanco was okay at an 808 OPS, almost 30 home runs. This is, he's a very average hitter, and that this is kind of what he does most of the time every year. And then MJ Melendez, this is a guy that we talked about last year having a really good year. Well, he had another career season this year. A potential increased again, +7, +5, +4. MJ Melendez is solidly up there on the top 5 of catchers in the entire league. An 893 OPS, 34 homers, a 552 slugging. He was ridiculously good. Really, really good. And then Ketel Marte, saw his home run numbers dip and saw a lot of his stats dip overall, and also saw a dip in overall too, because, he went down from a 292 overall, and a lot of his stats went down. But, still a very good hitter for sure. Pete Alonso, another season with over 100 RBIs, another season with 30 home runs. This is actually a career low for home runs for him in his career, and it's, he had 30 still. Like, that's how good Pete Alonso is. This is like a career worst season for him, and yet he was still way above league average. He is just the best first baseman in the entire league at the moment. Rafael Devers, very, very good season. I would say probably one of his best of his career. This season was really good, although 2024 was also really, really good. But man, a 400 on base almost, 917 OPS, 30 home runs basically. Yeah, that's a very, very good season from Rafael Devers, one of the better hitters in the league. And then Brandon Nimmo, had declined a lot this year actually in some of these stats. And, kind of had a down year. I mean, had a very down year in terms of home runs. Had 41 doubles still, but yeah, it was one of Brandon Nimmo's worst years in a while. And then Ramon Zavala was slightly worse than last year. And well, some of the stats he was worse, but some of them he was a little bit better. But overall, just decent season. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. was also very just decent, and Frank Schwindel didn't do much this year. So, overall, pretty strong lineup, but the pitching just not good enough. So we go to the Dragons here in Los Angeles, and we start this team off with Omar Velez, who, as a rookie, kind of struggled, didn't really play very well. He's still super young, though. We'll see what he can develop into. Patrick Wisdom, had an amazing year last year and actually improved it in terms of OPS and slugging and on base and average. Like, he actually got even better this year. And as a free agent here for the Dragons, you got to kind of make a decision. He's 34 years old. He's a little bit older. Do you want to keep him around? But, look at this. Diego Glenn. It's ridiculous. Plus 14 to contact versus lefties. He's got 99 contact versus lefties and righties now. I'm going to say it right here. Diego Glenn is the best catcher in the entire league right now. No other catcher is doing what he's doing right now. Corey Lee is the only guy that you can even put really next to him at the moment, I think. I mean, he's only getting paid $7 million to do that. Like, look at these numbers for a catcher. 336 average, 170 hits, 22 home runs, but 971 OPS. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. Diego Glenn is unbelievable. 9.3 WAR. Man, this guy is just ridiculous. The best catcher in the league. And then Mark Beals, 256 average, decent overall season for him, not anything too spectacular. And then Nate Lowe, also not anything too spectacular, only 705 OPS. He'll be a free agent. He'll probably will not be coming back to this team. I wouldn't see it happening, but yeah, he was all right this season. And then Taylor Trammell. Now, Taylor Trammell was really good. 819 OPS, 17 home runs, and 77 RBIs. He had similar counting stats to a few years ago, but this season was way better in a lot of other aspects. I mean, +4, +11. And those numbers, he increased a lot. He had a potential increase, which is the huge thing. He's on a very, very cheap contract, so I love Taylor Trammell on the Dragons right now. That's a very, very good situation for the Dragons and a very good year for him. Kevin Kramer, not much to say. I mean, he's just, overall a very decent hitter, not anything super spectacular there. Free agent, will probably not be coming back. And then Harrison Bader, all about the defense for him. And then Greg Jones was actually pretty good. Actually, a career best season for Greg Jones with 21 home runs and 858 OPS. So, I don't know. He's got, another year. I don't know if he's going to, if he put up the same numbers again, maybe they keep him. But overall, it's a decent lineup. It's not super, super good, but it's not terrible either. So, you move on here to the Vipers, and I don't know. I think I might have skipped the pitching staff for the Dragons accidentally. Sorry about that. I don't know if I come back to it later on, but yeah, sorry about that if that is the case. But Cabrian Hayes, all right. Bo Bichette, definitely the best hitter on the team, and it's not really even close. I mean, he had another amazing season, and I think if you are the Vipers, you have to really consider trading him this offseason. Dylan Carlson was actually really super good too, 890 OPS with 34 homers. He was excellent, 28 years old. I believe he is a free agent, so, who knows where he's going to want to go, but yeah, Dylan Carlson certainly had a great year, certainly had good increases, so a great year for the right fielder. And then Adam Dickinson, Adam Dickinson, kind of a weird year, like, his on base was kind of low, but my goodness, he had 35 home runs. That was a career high. 96 RBIs was a career high. 25 doubles was a career high. So, yeah, overall for Adam Dickinson, a better year than his rookie year, and a really, really good step in the right direction for him, and a good season overall for Dickinson for sure. And then Brett Beatty, this is a guy that's been super disappointing in this series, and he had another disappointing year this year. Just very average. I mean, that's what it is. You don't want average from Brett Beatty, but that's what you're getting right now. And he will be a free agent. I don't know what this team wants to do with him. They might sign him again, but those are his numbers. Brent Rooker was actually not too bad for a guy that had no expectations going into the season. But, is he really a starter? That question remains to be seen. And then Rafael Marchand was okay as their starting catcher. He does have some good increases, though, +7 and +9. But yeah, overall just decent. And overall, not a great lineup, I'm being honest. And then Evan Saunders in his rookie year was okay, not very great. So yeah, I mean, not a great lineup here. And overall, just not a very good team here in Vancouver as we go to the pitching staff. And, Jose Barrios is this team's ace, and he was good. He was definitely good. Here's another guy that I think if you're the Vipers, you consider trading in the offseason. But we'll see about that. But yeah, definitely a good season from Barrios, for sure, with a 3.2 ERA. And then Lance McCullers Jr. was pretty average, not great. Larry Nottingham wasn't good. Nick Lodolo wasn't good. Ian Anderson wasn't good. So, yeah, I mean, besides Barrios, you really don't have anybody in this pitching staff. And then the bullpen is pretty average here. A couple guys not very good at all. Frank Keys wasn't good. So just a struggling bullpen to this point. Taylor Williams didn't pitch much but wasn't good. Rodolfo Martinez, same thing. Nolan Blackwood, same thing. Zambrano wasn't good. Charles Rodriguez was easily by far and clearly this team's best relief pitcher. I mean, a 2.82 ERA and a 1.20 WHIP and 39 saves and 40 plus chances. I mean, yeah, Charles Rodriguez was clearly, easily the best pitcher in this bullpen for the Vipers. They just didn't have anybody else. So overall, not a great pitching staff here. So we get Connor Plinkton here. And, yeah, this bullpen we're going to go through it really quick because it's not good at all. Joe Massett, rookie year, could have gone a little bit better. Could have gone worse, I guess. But, yeah, it could have been a little bit of a better year for Dale Massett overall. +5 and +7 and +6. He does increase a lot, but kind of struggled offensively a little bit. And then Lynn Ritchie, Lynn Ritchie was, up there with the team's best relief pitcher, and he was excellent. Very, very good. Yellow Pena blew 8 saves. He was not great in that closer role for the Crazy Jacks, but you do have a couple of young relief pitchers in this staff that you can certainly build around if you are the Crazy Jacks. Joe Massett and maybe not Gabriel Pena so much, but Joe Massett and Lynn Ritchie certainly. But we go to the lineups here and look at Ernesto Castro. So I don't know if I increased his power versus lefties at some point this year, but if that really is +22 and I didn't, change or impact that rating at all, that is the most single largest increase that I've ever seen. Now I know that I helped the fielding ratings out, so I probably helped that rating out as well. But yeah, I mean, crazy increases regardless. I mean, look at this season from him, though, and he deserves it. I mean, 33 home runs, 186 hits, a 350 on-base percentage. And after 2 really, really bad years offensively, Ernesto Castro took a massive step forward in his hitting development this year. Same thing with John Torres, +13, +8 for John Torres. He's only 25. He's also super young, and he took massive strides in his ability at the plate as well. The 292 average and a 351 on base. Francisco Lindor, who they traded from Washington, is Francisco Lindor. So he's going to do well. Of course, he does well again this year. 920 OPS with 31 homers, 193 hits. I mean, a 370 on base. He was really, really, really good. And this is the veteran guy, the veteran presence that this team is going to build around for sure. And then Ian Happ, man, he was very good. 376 on base, 260 average, 30 homers, 28 doubles, very good extra base hits for Ian Happ. Potential increase. You love to see it there. Ian Happ, certainly very, very good, and will be definitely part of hopefully a team that can maybe push for a playoff spot next year. But Anthony Rendon was decent, did decline a lot. He's 36 years old, so I probably won't really change that because his hitting stats are still pretty good. But yeah, I mean, he's 36, and he is a free agent. So do the Crazy Jacks bring him back? Maybe. I say it's probably likely that they do. Because, he did have a 300 average and a 370 on base. Overall, the power numbers went down a lot, but his on base and stuff was good. So there's Michael Brantley. And if you want to take a screenshot of that, that is he's going to be his final career stats. He did retire in the offseason, so those are his final career numbers. And, well, he has that $1.8 million deal, but, I mean, this is the last time you're going to see him, and I think he does retire after this year in our sim anyway, so, yeah, a very, very good player, a borderline Hall of Fame player with 2,700 hits, but not a very great year for him this year. Keeper Ruiz plus 10 to contact versus righties, really good, because he had a really good year. You know, the on base is kind of low. Wish he could walk a little bit more, but overall, very good season. Tristan Lutz, okay. Jackson Profar was all right, plus 6 to power versus or contact versus lefties. But you know, he's going to be a free agent. I think you can see the building blocks here of a good team in Seattle and a team that could contend for the postseason. They got some young guys now with Castro and Torres. And, you know, they have a lot of older players, but they have Ruiz as well and Lutz. You know, they can hopefully build around those pieces. And then they got the older guys, especially with Francisco Lindor. Getting him was huge. So, you know, overall, I like this team. I like where it's at. And I think they could make a push for the postseason here. You know, next year, obviously, we're not going to see it. But I think they're a team with a pretty bright future, I would say. So we're going to keep going here. This is the last division in the AL, by the way, so we're almost done here. Luis Robert, man, he had a good season, 28 home runs. He's one of those really, really unbelievable leadoff hitters in this league, one of the better ones around, so he was super good. Man, look at Andrew Vaughn, 41 home runs and 95 RBIs. You're saying, finally, this guy delivered a good season for the first time in his career, living up to the hype. And he had a great season, of course. 41 home runs. That was great. Career high for him. Chris Bryant, you know, 35 years old. He's getting up there. He's getting into the prime of his end of his prime in his career, but he's still pumping out unbelievable seasons. Still pumping out 30-plus home run seasons. And I will not change those ratings for him anymore. I won't go in and fix those tanking ratings for Chris Bryant because he's at that age now. Well, I'm going to leave him alone for the most part. But, yeah, definitely a good season for Bryant. And then Paul DeJong, a guy that really was surprising me. I mean, the on-base is super low because he struck out a ton, and he is a free agent. I don't know if the Reapers sign him again, but my goodness, he certainly made a case for it. 38 home runs was a career high for him. Plus 11 contact versus lefties. Paul DeJong had 38 bombs this year. This is impressive for sure. So, definitely a good year for him. And then Wilson Contreras, man. I mean, the last 2 years, he's been one of the best offensive catchers in the entire league. Second straight season with 37 home runs. A career high in RBIs. A career high in doubles. 371 on base. Like, he was unbelievable last year, and he was even better this season with a 918 OPS. He's a free agent, so, you know, a couple free agents here, and that's why I'm saying that they probably won't sign Paul DeJong, is because they probably want to keep that guy around. And then Leonardo Nunez, okay, not amazing. Michael Conforto, also pretty average. I mean, he's nearing the end of his career. He's taking overall a little bit, but, you know, just a decent season. And then Anthony Santander, a very average hitter overall in his career, and a very average season for him offensively this year for sure. So, you know, overall, though, a good, really good lineup that, you know, you don't want to take that lineup for granted, that's for sure. Eugenio Suarez, minus 10, one of his ratings, which is unfortunate, but I don't really get this because he had a decent year. I think I went in and fixed his stats because I don't understand why he went down that much. I mean, sure, his power was down, but I think that was a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, Suarez was okay. Overall, though, very, very good lineup here for Houston. And then we get to the pitchers here, and this pitching staff is pretty good and pretty even and well-rounded, I would say. Robbie Ray here is this team's ace right at the moment, and he was pretty good, 3.61 ERA. Decent there. Kobe Allard, who is also a free agent, so I don't know if he'll come back, but, you know, he was all right this year. Ryan Yarbrough was pretty decent. You know, 3 guys with under 4 ERA. So far, very good start to the pitching staff. And then Jack Flaherty, who they traded from Washington, if you remember, he was all right. He was decent. I think that his ERA rose quite a bit when he got to Houston, but at 3.56 is not terrible. So overall, very, very good pitching staff here for the Reapers. I think, and then J.D. Helm here rounding it out. Okay, he was okay. But yeah, that's a great pitching staff overall, I feel like. Definitely one that can win you some games. And then the bullpen was all right. Austin Voth, though, this guy's crazy. I mean, last year he was one of the best relievers in the league, and then this year he follows that year up with another really good year. Now, last year he was better, I'll give you that, but still, man, still a really glitchy relief pitcher, I would say, because he was super good this year. Thomas Apucky, wow, okay, I'll take that. He didn't improve very much stat-wise this year, but he did have a good season pitching-wise. And then Trevor Rosenthal did not blow them all this year. He declined a little bit, but man, he was good. I wish that he'd get more innings this season, but he was good. Durbin Feltman was super solid also. And then Andre Gonzalez, I mean, I think that, what is his name? Roberto Osuna is going to win reliever of the year, as he should. But, I mean, you could maybe even give it to Andres Gonzalez. I mean, this guy, 25 years old, and he's already at 217 career saves. If Roberto Osuna doesn't break the save record from Mariano Rivera, then Andres Gonzalez certainly will. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable. A sub-1 whip this year with the 2.28 ERA. He has a massive contract that the Reapers gave him last year, and he deserves it because he is I'd say he's the second best closer in the entire league right now, and he's the best young relief pitcher in the entire game. He is so incredibly good, and he had another unbelievable season. So, it's a great team there. Don't want to mess with this team here. And now we're going to move on to the Mexico City Diablos, the last team we're going to look at here in this video. And the pitcher here that we're going to look at first is Dustin May. Now, I'm not sure why Blake gave Dustin May this ridiculous contract. I think that was more of an accident that we gave him that deal. But either way, Dustin May was all right this season stat-wise. 3.86. John Means, a glitchy pitcher that just always does well in franchise, and another good year for him, of course. He is just a glitchy pitcher that always does well. He did well again today in this season. And then Brandon McKay was okay. Not amazing there. He is a free agent, so we'll see if the Diablos re-sign him. And then Zach Eflin was very, very good as your, number 4. You'll take that every day of the week. 3.14 ERA, 1.22 whip. He was very, very good. And then Jordan Montgomery was lights out. He was a long reliever for a lot of the year. Then he ended the year as a starting pitcher. He had a 3.260 ERA. He was really, really good. Jordan Montgomery was crazy this year. So, he moved into the number 5 role because Matt Manning was there previously, and Matt Manning was really struggling. So, there's that. Austin Davis wasn't great. Matt Foster was great. Was pretty good, though. Pretty good, I would say. Scott Butler wasn't great. He definitely struggled. Taylor Rogers, though, was great in 23 innings. Now, I think the game, again, is really unfairly taking Taylor Rogers for, no reason, because look at that. Look at those numbers. Only 23 innings, I get it, but, man, is that a good season. And Francisco Cabrera only gave up 6 runs in 28 innings pitched. Why they didn't give Francisco Cabrera more innings this year, I don't know. But he was great. Carlos Estevez was ridiculous. 7 runs? He was ridiculous. He only pitched 33 innings. Reyes Miranda, 8 blown saves is too much for my liking. He was decent, but look at that. That bullpen is super solid. You got Rogers, Cabrera, and Estevez. All 3 of those pitchers are super, super solid pitchers. And then Matt Foster is not bad either. That's a pretty darn good bullpen, I'd say. And then the lineup is just unbelievable. top 5 offense in baseball, I would think. And man, look at Trey Turner. I know that he had, half the season in Boston, but this is a career season for Trey Turner. 43 dingers, a 9.3 WAR, 323 average, and a 1.017 OPS. Like, this is a guy, this is an MVP candidate right here on Trey Turner. 43 doubles. What a ridiculous season by Trey Turner, man. Absolutely insane. Dansby Swanson had a really good year, arguably a career season, a career high in RBIs and home runs. Easily his best year since 2025. That is an incredible season for Dansby. +9 and +7 in, his contact versus lefties and power versus righties stats. So, very, very good year for Dansby as well. And then Mike Trout. If his average was higher, he would be my pick for MVP, but the average is a little bit low. The on base is a little bit low for Mike Trout. But the OPS, an over 1 OPS again. 50 home runs. Actually, the first time he's hit 50 home runs since 2021. 110 RBIs, over 100 RBIs again. 35 doubles, 84 walks, 375 on base, a 9.5 WAR again, 161 WAR. Mike Trout, when I tell you guys this is the best player of all time, I truly do not exaggerate. This is the best player of, probably going to end up his career with the best player of all time in this game. 630 career home runs, so he should get, he should get to 700 career home runs here in a couple of years. It's just unbelievable. I have no words really left for just how good Mike Trout is. He's going to have 3,000 hits by the end of his career. Mike Trout is Mike Trout. He is super special. And, in real life, praying, hoping that, he can really get through his back injuries that he's been dealing with recently. But he is just so, so good and such a special talent. And then Jorge Soler, nothing to sneeze at here. He had a career season also with 44 homers, a career high, 190 ribbies, a career high in OPS, 600 slugging percentage. I'd say that was a pretty good year by Jorge Soler. Ridiculous, man. This lineup does not get any easier. It's crazy how good these hitters are. And then Daniel Vogelbach, he had like a career year in OPS and slugging. He had a career year. He legit had a career season. A +4, +10 in his contact ratings, 37 home runs this year. That's a career high, I believe, for him. 109 ribbies is a career high. So, yeah, Daniel Vogelbach was crazy good this year also, and he increased in his stats. So, yep, you notice a lot of home runs on this team. This team hit bombs this year. They hit a ton of home runs. I believe they led the league in home runs. So, yeah, this team is absolutely insane, and we're not even done yet. Travis Swaggerty, guess what? Career year. I think you might have been guessing that was going to happen for him. The on-base is low. He doesn't walk at all, which is annoying. +13. Wow, in a contact versus lefties. But, yeah, he doesn't really walk. I wish he would do that more, but, still. Great season, career year for Travis Swaggerty with 3 home runs. Just for sure a great year. Gabriel Moreno, all right. One of the weaker hitters on the lineup. Just a very average hitter. And then Trevor Story was this team's worst hitter. And, yeah, he was just not very good. So, nothing really great there for Trevor Story. But overall, he doesn't get much better than that. Doesn't get much better than that lineup. That lineup is, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's so, so good. So, that was an incredible lineup. And I'm really excited for this playoff race, guys. I'm really excited for the postseason to get this series wrapped up. I have another series and MLB The Show 22, already started that I really want to, show you guys more of and just keep going with it. So I want to get this series done and over with as quick as I can, as you get a look at Josh Van Meter, who was but yeah, I want to get that series started, and I will be really making sure like the NL recap will come out like literally the next day after this one comes out, because I want to get these videos out like right away, because I don't want you guys to be waiting like days in between a recap of the AL and a recap of the NL, and I just want to get to the playoffs. So I thank you guys for watching this. Hopefully you stuck in for the long haul, and if you did, well, thank you so much, and be sure to subscribe to catch more from this channel, guys. Have a great day. You've been listening to Lucas from Mars. God bless.